why are there so many layers of the Earth?
Yeah, so many. There's only 4.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, so there's four layers. The one that we live on, the top most layer is, do you know what it's called? No? The crust.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Then just below the crust, we have the next one, with all the lava. The lava place. Mantle. Okay. Then we have the inner core and then the outer core. Okay. So let's start from this. So we'll start from this. So when the Earth was formed, first 4.5 billion years ago, right? So it must be mostly iron and then other rocky materials called silicates and magnesium silicates. Yeah. Now so first it was just a big molten ball of stuff, right? Floating around or in orbit around the sun.
Yeah.
And slowly stuff started to cool down.
Okay.
But as it was cooling, so it's a liquid. Now, on liquids, have you ever done that thing where you've put oil and trying to mix oil and water together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they mix?
No.
No, they don't. Which one? They form 2 layers. Which one's on top?
Normally the oil.
Yeah, normally the oil.
You've been challenged here.
Yeah, normally the oil, right? So the oil is on top because it's less dense, and more dense water is at the bottom. Or if you added like some dish soap to it, the dish soap, which is more dense than the water, would actually sink even lower. Okay? So the same thing happened now because we have this big molten ball of rock and iron and everything floating in space. So the heavier stuff, the more dense stuff starts to sink, which was the iron and the other metals like nickel and cobalt starts to sink, leaving behind mostly rock on the up top. And because it's so deep inside, there's all this friction going on with all these particles moving across each other. So there's lots of heat in the center of the Earth. But the bits that are, so now let's say we have 2 places. So we have a metal core and molten rock on the outside. Now the rock that's exposed to space will start to cool down and form crust. You know, like when you have a Sunday roast, you got your gravy, you let your gravy sit for a while. I'm very hungry. So you get that little skin that forms on top of the gravy, right? All the fat congeals on top, make it less appetizing, right? Yeah. That's because it's colder. The air above is cooling down that gravy at the top, so we get that little crust. In the same way, you form a rocky crust that we live on. Thank God for that, right? But the rock underneath is still molten because of the heat coming off of the core.
Okay.
And that keeps it molten, and that's why we have lava just below our feet.
Okay.
Magma.
Yeah. And the cores, though, now there's 2. The core is divided up into 2 sections, inner and outer core, made from the same stuff, but the outer core is liquid.
Okay.
Which would make sense because if you if you get iron or any metal hot enough, it will turn into a liquid, right?
Yeah.
So, but the inner core is a solid.
Okay.
But it's the hottest part. So, inner core, outer core, right?
The magma.
Mantle, which is filled with magma.
Yeah.
And then we got the crust.
Okay.
That's our bit.
Yeah.
It's the bit we walk on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is not hot.
Though I still think it should be hotter than it is.
Yeah.
Well, if it's as hot as the sun.
I guess if you keep dig
low enough.
It gets hotter. I've heard.
I've never dug that deep. Small hole on a beach.
Yeah.